Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Just Trying to Survive and Learn to Love Along the Way. This will be Part 13, Chapters 24 and 25. Chapter 24 of Hospitals and Worries. Even though they know Izuku is fine, Hisashi is still worried. He can tell that Shouta is too, from the way he clenches his hand, equally as tight as his own grip. When they're finally led into the right room, they both pause in the doorway, surprised to find Ida and Todoroki in there as well. Aizawa-sensei, what are you guys doing here? Ida notices them first, but doesn't say anything of how their hands are still clenched together. At the sound of his friend's voice, Izuku turns from where he was gazing out the window and stares at them. Nobody moves for a moment, and then Izuku is letting out a small sob as he pushes himself out of the bed. Hisashi is moving forward at the same time, dragging Shouta with him, and makes it in time to catch Izuku when he falls. It's like he forgot about his injuries the moment he saw them, and only remembered because of the pain that standing caused him. Hisashi holds him close as Izuku sobs into his chest, letting him have this moment to cry. We should get him back in bed. Shota's voice is quiet in his ear. Hisashi shifts his hold on Izuku, lifting and carrying him the short distance to the bed. Izuku still clutches the front of his shirt, refusing to let go. Can you sit with me? I can't. Izuku cuts himself off and shakes his head, clearly frustrated by his lack of words. Of course, little listener. Just let me take off my jacket and speaker. Sound good? Hisashi more feels than sees Izuku nod against his chest before the kid is slowly letting go of him, wincing at the pain that all the movement caused. Hisashi sheds his gear before gesturing for Izuku to move over on the bed. The listener's eyes light up with glee, and he moves over quickly, frowning down at his left leg when it doesn't move like he wanted it to. Do you think it will scar? Izuku signs the question as Hisashi is settling beside him on the bed, and Shouta moves to stand by his side as he answers. Probably, although I've heard that girls love scars, so with your collection, you're in luck. Thank God, Izuku understands that Shouta is joking. He squishes his face in disgust before signing again. Gross. Shouta laughs at that, and Izuku smiles, delighted that he managed it. Ida, clearing his throat from across the room, reminds them that they are not alone, and that Ida clearly has something to say. Hisashi lifts his arm as Izuku scoots himself a little closer to him, and the kid smiles gratefully at him as he tucks himself into his side. Midoriya, I understand that you are concussed, but acting this way towards our senseis is highly inappropriate. I suggest... Shut up, Ida. It's Todoroki who interrupts him, and Hisashi is grateful. Izuku had been getting more tense with every word uttered. But Ida stops himself this time, drawn by the motion of Izuku raising his hands to sign. Except that he doesn't sign. He raises his middle finger towards Ida with a sly grin. Sho! You've corrupted my son! Shouta doesn't answer him. Instead, he reaches across him and high-fives Izuku. Nice one, kiddo. Izuku beams at the small praise, and Shouta gives him a small smile before stepping away. The doctor chooses this moment to enter the room, and she doesn't even bat an eye at the sight of Hisashi on the bed with Izuku. I'm assuming you're his parents? Yes, ma'am. Ida audibly gasps at Hisashi's response, and he has to try very hard not to laugh. All right, I've just got a few things to go over about his condition and recovery. If everything keeps going smoothly, we should be able to release him in the morning. Hisashi and Sho nod, unwilling to interrupt the woman. The concussion isn't as bad as we initially thought. It combined with the blood loss and gave him symptoms of severe head trauma. However, it was still fairly serious. He'll be overly sensitive to light and sound for a little while. That's better than Hisashi hoped for. His responsiveness when they found him was worrying, to say the least. He'll have to be cautious with how he moves with the amount of stitches we had to put on his abdomen. One wrong twist and they will pop open. I recommend he takes things really slow for a week. That shouldn't be too bad. Tomorrow is the last day of internship, so there won't be classes, and after that it's the weekend. They'll just have to be careful at school after that. No hero studies for Izuku. By far the worst of his injuries is the damage to his left leg. While he miraculously didn't damage any nerves, he managed to scrape the bone. That all sounds awfully painful. Hisashi grimaces in sympathy, feeling awful for what his kid had to go through. There was a lot of soft tissue damage that we had to fix. It nearly had us bringing him into surgery. This one will also take the longest to heal. I recommend you keep him off his feet as much as possible for the first week. I understand he still has to attend classes, and he should be good to move around slowly at school. However, if the pain does worsen, I'd stick him in a wheelchair. Normally, I would suggest having him on crutches, but the damage to his abdomen prevents the possibility. He'll most likely suffer from chronic pain because of how deep the wound went. Hisashi frowns. They're already expecting that from the damage to his arm, and now he has to go through it with his leg, too. Poor Izuku. He holds him a little tighter at the thought. Thanks, Doc. Shouta answers for them, dismissing the doctor. Hisashi turns toward his husband as he stretches. I'm getting coffee. I'm going to need it after tonight. Sho turns with a slight frown and begins to walk towards the door. A frantic poking at his side makes him turn his attention from his husband. Can he get me some hot chocolate? Sho! Shouta had just stepped outside the room. He poked his head back in with a grumpy look on his face. What? Can you get the baby some hot chocolate? Shota's face softens at that, and he nods at them before disappearing out the door. Izuku frowns at the door for a few moments before tugging on his sleeve. Is tired Dad okay? The listener sure is perceptive. Anyone else wouldn't have noticed how distracted his husband is. Yeah, kiddo. He was just really worried about you. Probably still is, like me. He speaks quietly, trying not to disturb the others but unwilling to let go of his son. Izuku raises an eyebrow, but signs nothing. When I got that text, and it was just your location, I didn't know what to think. And when we found you like that, it was terrifying. We can't lose you, Izuku. Hisashi will never forget the sight of Izuku bleeding out on the ground, or how pain-filled his screams sounded before they found him. He doubts Shouta will either. He focuses back on Izuku when he pokes him in the side. The listener is still frowning. He's not mad? Why in the world would he be mad? Why wouldn't he be? I left you. He told me to stay with you, and then I left. And then I got hurt, and you had to save me again. I'm sorry. I keep messing up. You and Tired Dad should be mad. Izuku, if we were mad, we would tell you. We were scared, because we didn't know what was going to happen to you. Not mad. Sho specifically gave you instructions for if we got separated, which I let happen. So if anything, this was my fault. Hisashi has been feeling this way ever since they found Izuku. If he had just gone with him, maybe he wouldn't have gotten so injured. What? I'm the one who asked to leave. You aren't to blame for any of this. If you keep blaming yourself, I'm telling Tired Dad. This kid is going to be the death of him. How about we agree that this was none of our faults? And if you still think Sho is mad, you can ask him when he comes back. Izuku shakes his head at the suggestion. It looks like neither of them want to face Shouta. and people say that Sho is the one who doesn't like emotions. Hizashi decides that they shouldn't end the conversation on such a negative note, so he brings something up that he knows will embarrass Izuku. So, when did Tired Cat become Tired Dad? He grins, trying to keep Izuku at ease. I've been thinking about it ever since you guys said that. Izuku cuts himself off, hands stilling before he finishes his thought. Said what, listener? He looks conflicted before he answers. That you love me. Izuku won't meet his eyes, opting to stare at the bedsheets instead. He looks uncertain, like he's worried they're going to take it back. Izuku, look at me. It takes a few moments before he does, and Hizashi finds a trace of fear in his eyes. We meant every word we said. We will say it as many times as we need to get it through that thick skull of yours. We love you, Izuku. Nothing is going to change that. Izuku nods a little tearfully, and he's not sure if he got his point across or not. So, if Sho has become Tired Dad, does that mean I'm now Loud Dad? Izuku looks a little panicked at this. Only if you want. It's just, you guys are so nice and act like I think good dads would. But I'm not ready to say it out loud, so I changed your sign names. I'll change them back if you don't like it. Of course I like it, Izuku. I'm sure Sho will too. Izuku doesn't answer him, and they sit in comfortable silence, waiting for Shouta to return, and ignoring the looks from Todoroki and Ida. Chapter 25 of Meetings and Rest. Shouta returns a few minutes after he and Izuku finish talking, carrying a tray of drinks. Sho leans down and presses a soft kiss to his cheek before passing out the drinks with a small smile. Hizashi hears Ida gasp at the action, probably surprised that his teacher knows what affection is. Tea for the husband, and hot chocolate for the baby. Instead of objecting to the name like he has in the past, Izuku raises slightly trembling hands to sign. Thank you, Tired Dad. Shota's eyebrows go up at the name, but he doesn't say anything. He just rounds the bed and gives Izuku's curls a pat before settling in the empty space next to Hizashi's feet, and where Izuku's feet would be if he wasn't curled up, or was a little taller. Aizawa-sensei. What is it, Ida? Shouta looks slightly annoyed as he answers his student. Are you and Mike-sensei married? Ida looks and sounds incredibly nervous. Sho grins at the uncertainty in his tone, and Hizashi decides that he should answer before his husband scares the kid even more. That's right, listener. Just don't go telling anyone. Hizashi makes sure to add some seriousness to his tone to get his point across. He knows he succeeded when Ida pales and nods frantically. Izuku is slumped against him, unwilling to fall asleep, with his empty cup loose in his hands when the door opens loudly. Izuku startles and Sho turns to give the intruders a glare. Good evening. I'm Police Chief Kenji Suragame. I believe some of you have met Pro Hero Manual. We are here to discuss the fallout from the events of earlier tonight. Manual nods at them beside Suragame, but no one says a word. The chief takes this as his cue to continue. Now, I understand that you students were a big help in stopping the hero killer, and for that I thank you. This man gave everyone a lot of trouble, so it's a relief to finally have him off the streets. Ida frowns, clearly disagreeing with the sentiment. A lot of trouble is an understatement. I've been told that one of you was given permission to use your quirk, but that means that the other two did so illegally. Todoroki opens his mouth to argue, but it clamps shut just as quickly at Shota's harsh look. We are willing to overlook the illegal quirk usage and give the credit to pro heroes Eraserhead and Present Mike. We can even go as far to say that they were aided by internship students because one of you had permission. That's not too bad. Hizashi was expecting the kids to get in trouble. Are you all in agreement? I must release a statement soon. What would happen if you credited us? Todoroki's question is not unexpected. Well, we would be required to release the fact that you used your quirks illegally, even if you were protecting your friends. Then, we would have to charge you, because no one is above the law. Todoroki is frowning now, clearly unhappy with the decision they have to make. I, for one, am more than happy to leave the credit to our teachers. They did come and save us in the end, after all. If they didn't, none of us would be here now. Ida is more subdued than usual, but he makes a good point. It seems everyone else in the room agrees, so Chief Surigame leaves without another word. Izuku sighs as soon as he leaves the room. The listener looks exhausted as he moves to lay down on the bed, curled up right next to Hizashi. He's finally relaxing when Ida speaks up again. Midoriya, I am curious to know when you moved in with our senseis. As I recall, you said at the beginning of the year that you lived with your mother. Ida is speaking softer than usual, realizing the sensitive nature of the topic. He's not being unkind, just curious. Hizashi hopes that Izuku notices this as well. His kid taps his thigh and holds up his hands to sign, so Hizashi translates for him. He says he doesn't want to talk about it, and to shut up, because he's trying to sleep. Todoroki snorts at that, while Ida simply frowns. Ida and Todoroki go to sleep soon after, while Izuku lays wide awake at his side. He's flinching every so often, and Shouta keeps giving him worried glances from his spot at the foot of the bed. It takes a particularly hard flinch, one that has Izuku wincing in pain and holding Hizashi's leg for dear life, that he finally realizes what's going on. The flinch came after a particularly loud noise outside the room, likely a nurse dropping something. He flashes back to the last time they sat with Izuku in the hospital and remembers him signing that it was too loud. I'm an idiot. Sho glances at him wearily as he pulls off his own headphones and slides them onto Izuku's head. The kid relaxes immediately, falling asleep in just a few minutes. I can't believe I forgot. Last time it took him forever to fall asleep because of the noise at the hospital. At least you remembered. Hizashi glances up at Sho and catches a fond expression on his face as he watches the two of them. Do you think he'll be okay after this? Hizashi doesn't want to be that paranoid parent, but he's worried. Izuku has already been through so much. I'm not sure, but what I am sure of is that we'll support him through it all. Hizashi gives his husband a soft smile at that. Sho always knows the right thing to say. Friday morning comes and Hizashi is tired. None of them had a good sleep last night. Izuku woke up frequently from nightmares, and some of them took both him and Shouta to calm the kid down. He's surprised that Ida and Todoroki slept through it all. Hizashi hopes it's just the stress of being in the hospital in an unfamiliar place that is making them so bad. Shouta groans from his position on the floor. He stands, still wrapped up in his sleeping bag, and moves over to a chair, probably to wait for a nurse to come in with discharge papers. Hizashi glances down at Izuku and finds him dead to the world, exhaustion from last night finally letting him rest peacefully, at least for the last few hours. It's only 20 minutes later when a nurse comes in, carrying discharge papers for all of the students. Apparently, he and Shouta would have to get them all home. Ida and Todoroki have woken up, and they're already packing their meager belongings, eager to get home. Hizashi is reluctant to wake Izuku up. but he'll rest better at home with the cats anyways. So the sooner he gets up, the sooner they can leave. Hisashi pulls his headphones off gently and places a hand on his shoulder to nudge him awake. It's surprisingly easy, and it leaves Hisashi wondering if he really was sleeping anymore, or just taking a few more moments of rest before he has to move again. Izuku gets up with a groan of pain, taking a moment to orient himself. "You able to walk, problem child?" Izuku takes a moment to think about it before he finds his words. "I think so." He rises slowly from the bed, and Hisashi keeps a hand nearby in case he stumbles. He doesn't, and the moment he's standing, Todoroki emerges from the washroom, wearing his hero uniform. Ida sits patiently on the end of his bed, wearing his own. Is mine wrecked? The question comes as he's donning his own hero gear, and it makes him pause in fastening his speaker. "I'm afraid so, listener. We'll just have to get the support company to make you a new one." Izuku frowns for a second before speaking again. "Do you think I could redesign it? Maybe add a few support items?" "I don't see why not. Why support items?" Shouta gets right to the point. Well, I don't want to rely on my quirk so much, so I want to learn different weapons." That shouldn't surprise Hisashi as much as it does. He refuses to let it show on his face. "We'll wait to add those until you're proficient. Now let's get to the train station." Izuku smiles widely, visibly excited to learn more fighting techniques. The smile falls when he stumbles, and Hisashi has to throw out an arm to stop him from falling. "You sure you can walk, Izuku?" Yes. Can I just..." He gestures to Hisashi's arm that he's still gripping, and he nods, understanding the question. They make the short walk to the elevator, and Izuku grips his arm, managing the walk mostly unaided. Once they make it to the front of the hospital, they hail a taxi to get them to the train station, and Hisashi nearly sighs. This is going to be an awkward train ride. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 25 of Just Trying to Survive and Learn to Love Along the Way. Chapter 26 will be up next. I'd love to hear the thoughts and reactions you all are having to this set of chapters. I think it was great. In the previous two, it was everything that was going on with Hosu, which was nice and all. We see that Izuku gets rescued, but at the end of those previous sets of chapters, right, Izuku's being carted off to the hospital, and so these two chapters were great because we got a chance to kind of see Izuku in the hospital with Hisashi and Shouta, getting that opportunity to have some fluff moments where they're comforting him. And also, of course, we've got Todoroki and Ida in the background, and so they now know more about the situation and what's going on. Ida really caught a lot of strays in this one, being flipped off by Izuku, and some other comments here and there as well. So let me know your thoughts, drop the comments below, and just a reminder, the fic is located on AO3, so if you have that opportunity to slide over leaving comments, kudos, and support to the original author, I'm sure it's much appreciated. As always, thank you all so much for listening.